Yo, what's up? All right. Yeah, brake sounds. Pillix, get your brakes checked. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I've done some things. I've done a lot of things. So what we've basically done at this point is taken where we left off yesterday. We brought it in to make it a command line app. Now, after talking with some of the people, especially the person who used to be the maintainer of this, there was kind of an issue. The biggest issue was that person was the one that was running it. I will not be the person that's running it. So like for me, it's a matter of I need to get it into a format in which other people can run. So because of that, we need to provide a little bit of stuff around it. Now, option one, CLI, folks running this are probably not going to be super technical, so getting them to run a CLI is rough. Automated process, very likely that this will move into something like a AWS Lambda or Azure Functions. I would suggest Azure Functions. I'm biased though, but I also know how to use Azure Functions. I don't know how to use Lambda. Google Cloud Run would be another one. I don't know what Fly or some of the other services have, so I can't speak to those. But basically what I'm trying to do is I need to take the essence of this and put it into a format which can be packaged and utilized elsewhere. Which the conversation on whether or not this will or won't be another PyPI package that I have ultimately abandoned. We'll see. My hope is that I can at least make it a package that sits on GitHub that I can just pip install directly from GitHub and then make that the thing that they pull from. Because again, I'm not saying that this isn't helpful for other people. I'm just saying that it's designed with a specific task in mind. So if that's the case, there's no reason for me to spin this up and doing a bunch of stuff, especially if I can just say, hey, it lives on GitHub and it's a package in GitHub and you can just pull it. Or even better, I load it as, some type of image and you just call the image from GHCR and then run it and pass in your inputs. Like, that's another option. But regardless of what the option is, we're in the process of making this usable by people not named Jay Miller. That's the goal here. So with that being said, what I've kind of done, let's give you the tour. This is where we left off last time. We had our actual document here where we're going to initialize our Vertex model. You do need a cloud account for this, so that's why I'm thinking Cloud Run might work, because then you can bundle those things. This filter emails thing out, this might come back. Right now, we don't have an input filter, so adding the input filter in is a thing that might get added. Then we have a Pydantic base model that's just kind of the here's the stuff that we want to get at the end of the day. And we want to attach that stuff to whatever data we got. And that's why I went for Pydantic, because that's like the next thing that I really want to think about is what we currently have is we have like 4 fields that we have to have, and then everything else is just passed through. However, for data security reasons, we have to anonymize the data, and anonymizing the data is kind of a challenge in itself. Basically, if we look at this data type here, this is what the data used to be. Like when the previous maintainer was using this was coming in as a CSV file. The CSV was, you know, get these values. Everybody's happy. And now we don't send any of this information other than the job title and the prospect ID. That's the only things that we send. And then when we get done, we send it back. Basically, you just append the persona and the persona certainty back to the user. So what I'm doing is I'm making this a Pydantic base model. That way I can export it as, you know, a bunch of different types and kind of leave it at that and say like, hey, if you need it as a dict, you're going to get it as a dict. And then if you need to convert that dict into some other format, you can. But it's a lot easier using it as this than it is with anything else. And do we need to make this a base model? I don't know yet. I don't fully know. Probably not. Maybe. Could it be a data class? Yes. It could be a data class. I don't know. We're not really doing anything with this. It's just I don't know what it's going to be output as, and Pydantic has the largest space. Freaking Jeff. I told you, Jeff. We were just talking about this. I use Pydantic all the time. Look, here's another instance in which I'm using it. This is eerily reminding me of a project that I abandoned that I should probably mark as read-only and possibly take off of. Well, I don't know if you take it off of PyPI. Not Black Python devs. That should stay on. This stream's brought to you by Black Python devs. Also, shout out to Watch Files. Submit PR right there. We'll see what happens. It's a documentation update. Really simple. Really simple one. Where was I? I was looking for Q. Yeah. This AZ queue manager thing. It reminds me a lot of this, where I had like this management class, and then I have these transformers, and basically the transformers would say like, I'm going to take this data and I want you to output it as this format. And I'm kind of thinking in this vein. I can't reuse this code because this is like very specifically set for Azure storage queues, which is what we're not using. I just thought it was kind of cool that like, hey, this is becoming my vein of development here, is doing things with storage queues. Let's see. I'm trying to figure. Yeah, I thought I used abstract base classes for this. I may do that again. That may get done because I immediately thought about that this time around for these types of readers, which is the other thing that I was wanting to talk about. Let's go over to the base reader. Nope. Why can't I ever remember how to do this? There we go. So I have this like input reader type thing. And this input reader is basically the manager in this state of, if this were an abstract base class, basically any other type of reader, whether it be a CSV, JSON, Postgres, OpenSearch, like that's kind of the plan. The plan is to make it so that you can take this data from many different inputs and then pass it as output. Granted, this is kind of where I first thought about using Pydantic. The only thing I'm worried about with this is, do I separate these two things or are they one thing? They might just be one thing. now that I'm looking at it more and more, they may just be one thing. The only reason why I really thought about separating them was we want to be able to take any amount of data as long as we only give back the prospect ID and the title. That's as long as we're working with those two pieces, we can take any amount of input. And that's where I was thinking of, you have like this reader, and this reader creates a persona type object inside of it. And then you return that object, like the information from the object attached to the thing. I did a terrible job explaining that. But what we're looking at is something like, oh, actually, can we do like draw dot, actually, wait, we pay for it. I might as well use it. Oh, let me grab. All right, so we've got, I don't know what any of these things mean because I dropped out of school. Why is the process so big? The swim lane is massive and the process is tiny. Can we make the swim lane smaller? No. Well, that's fine. All right, so we have some data. We don't know what the data looks like, but we got data. That data goes into this process, and what we get is like just the ID and title. And then we also get and then we pass that. Maybe we make this something else. I don't know. We pass that information into our AI, which connector, merge, stored data, manual input, decision. I don't know, decision, is that a thing? I'm just now learning what some of this stuff is. Merge, A for AI, why not? We pass this into our little AI thing. And then that returns you can't read it because I'm covering it up. We'll zoom in here in just a second. We'll zoom into this. There we go. Cool. So it returns the ID, the title, the persona, and the certainty. I don't know how we're going to calculate the certainty. That's like a whole thing that I got to figure out, but we'll get there. And then that information gets back as, where do we have data? Where's our data? Where's our data? So that information goes back to that from there. That's kind of the plan. Why did you attach? Boom, there we go. This little ugly nodule can get removed. Don't know why I tried to do that. Okay, so Let's replace some stuff with the right things. So yeah, boom, right there. So we got data. That data goes into this process. We're gonna make the process smaller. Okay, drag that over there. Shoot. In that process, we're gonna grab right here, zoom back in. That process is going to feed into our AI model. That AI model is going to get that certainty, and then we're going to take all of this and attach it back to the original data. So, and basically we're using the, can I add like a little nub in there? Like here, boom, boom. Yeah, so like that. And the big thing that we're trying to actually do in this process is we're trying to make it so that two things are possible. Possibility one is, what is this connect? It's not connected to anything. Oh, it's because it's, yeah, that's goofy. I don't like these cards. They're too goofy. Let's put that up here. Why not? All right. So did someone mention Pydantic? Yes, someone mentioned Pydantic. Yes, Pydantic has been said at least 5 times. All right, so the thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that this data can be anything. This data can be from a database. It can be from a CSV file. It can be, where do we go? Yeah, from internal storage. It can be multiple documents. It can be all of these things. It still gets processed into whatever this processor is. This processor is a cell process. Sure, we'll just add this. So these processes will exist, and this is the thing that I'm not sure about in terms of like from the application standpoint is, do you include all of these processors as like a thing, kind of like how LangChain does, to where you have like all these different sub modules that you're just like, import this processor, and then it gives you all the things that you need specifically for that, which also Render Engine does, which is again me going on my thing. Still working on fully understanding Pydantic. I think I'm getting there. I mean, does one have to fully understand something to use it? That would be my argument, because I personally don't think that I understand it either, but I can still use it. I know I understand the parts that I want to use, which is the important bit for me. But yeah, I think I have like a specific like packet, like a folder for each of these processes that read from a base process, and we go from there. That way, if people want to add to it, you just submit a PR and then it's there and it has its own folder. So if we were to look at that from this standpoint, back on here, again, sorry for the change in retina, retinas. What this would look like is, we are going to learn new session. All right, so well, fully understanding the use case, I'd used a lot of things that were built on top of it, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, this is the conversation that I've had with someone else. Hold on one second. I'm trying to. There we go. I was like, why is it? It was cropped. That was weird. I've had this conversation too of like, I don't know as a maintainer necessarily when I would reach for it, but I do know that in this case where I have a bunch of different output types and I want to make it easy for those output types to be used, it's probably helpful versus having to define all those output types myself, especially when the data is going to be effectively the same. All right, so ls-t, let's, oh, that was the lie. I was like, why is that folder? There's nothing in there. ls-t source. We don't have a source. Okay. So here's what we have currently. Some of these are going to disappear. We can actually remove them now. Let's see, rm, rf. Oh, I don't need to rf this. rm, ChatGPT, and we'll keep vertex test for now, but we don't use the ask ChatGPT thing at all. All right, so we've got these. Right now we have that CSV reader. I think what I would do is I would like make a directory called CSV or like readers CSV. Yeah, something like that. And then let's go back here. Let's -p. I can never remember the different dashes. Oh, lowercase p. -p. Boom, like that. So now when we do this, yeah, we got those readers, and then we can move into, no, not everything. Into here. Yeah, so we do something like that. And I think from readers, like we put base reader in like the base of that. And again, there is a part of me that is like, I feel like I'm over designing this. But then the other part of me is like, this will make it much easier to work on as we start getting different data types. And I can already explain now that there will be different data types because a part of my job is to showcase as many of the platforms that we have. So it's like, oh, if you're using Postgres, we have a Postgres reader. If you're using this other thing, we have this other thing reader. Like, so like that's a whole, that's just an inevitability. So right now, I guess the plan would be to let's look at, let's try this. Let's start with just the logic inside of the core application, which is this. From that, okay, so now we no longer need Pydantic. We no longer need from UUID. I also think that we would have, let's do this, make dear Ivan models. Yeah. And then we're going to move, well, we're not going to move, but some of that stuff will get moved to models. Let's see. Okay. Because now we can do take that, put that there. All of this. So our .env and load.env also goes there. Like all of that goes there. Yeah. Oh, 100% Kojo. Like, the reason they reached out to me to take this over was like, one, the person who is maintaining it is leaving. So, like, they need a maintainer. But then, two, they were like, we've been using it like this because this is the only way that we knew how to use it. We would really like to use it in other ways, but we don't know what those other ways are. But with it being an automated process, there's like this thing of we're going to use it, and then our team was like, wait a minute, we could use it too. And then like the sales team is like, well, it's for us anyway, so we might as well be using it as well. So at that point I was like, all right, this is going to be used by a lot of people. Which that also, when I think about like this too, like we're using Vertex because Vertex was what the person was using. This is likely going to move into like a LangChain type model where like we just use LangChain as the import because it makes it easier. And then that allows us to interface with whichever LangChain model we need. And if we need to use the specific AI, like API, then we'll go down that road. But at that point, we don't need load.env anymore. That comes over here. Boom. Also, if you see something in here and you're like, why is that in there? I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. Remember, I'm working with existing code. So this like filter email thing, like I said, this filter email thing was nice, and I understand why it's there. We don't need that. That's a feature that we can add back in, which is like filtering out, like pre-filtering data. All about that idea, but that's going to make things a little complicated until we get to it. Base reader, let's see. So the base model, do we include the base model in this? Yeah, I think we put this in there as well, which means the import for Pydantic, which is no longer in here, just gets in here. Import Pydantic. Cool. All right, so now we've got this is just the command line app. Our command line app is we take an input thing. I don't want to call it an input object, output object. I think you still call it a path because it's either going to be an endpoint URI for a database or, you know, something to that effect. It could be a table inside of a database, so it could be like this database, this table, and then you move it into a database, the other table. We're not even going to begin down the road of like, I want it in this format and then I need to move into another format. Maybe that's like a output reader or output writer or something. I said we weren't going to, and then I immediately just put like output writer as a thing, class, pass, like it's fine. Our base data, our persona model is going to be of type persona, like that. Boom, boom. Yep, something to that effect. Cool. I mean, too many types. Oh, because it's a list. Yeah. Something to that effect, right? All right, so we've got our input path, we got our output path. We have our overwritable create ID, which basically just says like, why do I call it a create ID? Oh, that's why. Create prospect ID is just a Boolean. It's either on or it's off. Like we want to have it or we don't want to have it. That way we can say manually create an ID or use one that's there. Prospect ID is annotated string option. The default is going to be prospect ID. All right, so what did this write? Only used if create prospect ID is true. That's not accurate at all. Get rid of that. The unique identifier column. We'll just say the unique identifier. Cool. Okay. What is this? False is not defined. No, I mean you are correct. Input path. Okay, this stuff is just not accessed. That's why it's yelling, saying we haven't called any of this stuff yet. So input path, output path, create prospect ID, which is just like those things, and then we want the title field. Job title field. Yep. And then we want, those are kind of the only two things. I could, I'm trying not to over-engineer this. Do not over-engineer this. Do not over-engineer this. Do not over-engineer this. Model, yeah, boom. Oh, that's great. That's a whole nother issue of like if you're using the model, but then you have like, because you're using like Vertex, they have different models. So we can't even call it model. We have to call it like LLM. Okay. Again, I don't trust that that's just wrong in general. Okay, so let's do some imports here. We're gonna say from readers, base reader, import those. From models, import model. Oh yeah, because we called it a model like that. We should probably call it like Vertex AI, something like that. That way we can. Otherwise, it's gonna get goofy. Vertex AI. All right. Because then we can say LLM. I don't want to say LLM model. We want to say LLM is. That's interesting because then we won't know what type. We're gonna say that's any for now. Okay, so we got like all those things. Yeah. Okay, cool. And like I said, most of this stuff won't be ever referenced or like modified. But from there we don't need to do path. I mean, this would have been fixed with something like pathlib in general. Instead of reading the CSV file into a data frame, we're not doing that at all. We're just saying input reader, input path. Oh, these actually can't be options, because these would need to be defined somewhere, because I can't just pass in a, I mean, this is just as the CLI. We can get rid of the CLI, because I mean, it's not going to be a CLI like this. We're not going to call it like that ever. We can get rid of that. We can do that for now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is a little bit better. So these don't need to be annotated anymore. I'm saying pathlib path. Those are not correct. This needs to be a string or pathlib path. Which we could also say if it was a file path and you just pass it in as, nah. And what I'm trying to figure out is like, how do we work with this? How do we work with this? So you have the input reader. The input reader is what you would call I think all of this is now just input reader, and we go into the base model and we update that. Cool. I like. So we have our base like this, right? All right, so we have our input reader, base model, init, filter input, def, parse input, self, and then that's going to be here. Let me. There we go. I said parser. I always do that. It's always parser. It's just parse. Parse input. That's just going to be whatever the input is. We're going to say for in get the persona model from the base data, right? And that might actually be done in init, like, so maybe we just iterate over the persona model and return the parse data. Right, so currently That's where we need to figure out some things. If we are using all right. So they're just filtered. Do you have filtered columns to keep? That makes sense. You're an assistant. You do the thing. Then you chunk it 500 at a time. Chunk size. Number of iterations. Results. In TQDM. What is TQDM? I'm familiar with it because all it does is it's just a progress meter. Okay, that's gonna disappear. That's going out. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna just use rich progress, which is fine. Okay, so then what are you doing? Okay, so apply with a, what does that apply? Chunk location apply. Yeah. Job tables title. Iter rows. Results append response. I'm just trying to figure out where they're actually okay, generate content prompt text. Okay, so response model generate content. Prompt is the definition plus the table. That's a way of doing it. So if I understand this correctly, it's passing. Still, I'm also streaming this on Twitch and LinkedIn. But everybody's talking on YouTube. And YouTube is kind of the thing that I tend to keep most of an eye on because it's the thing that I'm most interested in growing an audience on. All right, so if I understand this correctly, this is like saying, hey, I'm going to give you this table. Here's your response, and your job is to recreate the table with the updated values, which I can understand how that could have issues. Now, the thing that I wonder is, was this a token choice? Was this this is the only way I know how choice? I don't have the answer to that. But what I'm looking at here is would it be easier? You can add PDFs to Gemini. We don't need to do PDFs. That's doing a lot. You get text embeddings. Batch embeddings predictions. Getting responses in a batch is efficiently send large numbers of non-latency sensitive embedding requests. Different from getting online responses where you're limited to one input request at a time. You can send a large number of LLM requests in a single batch, similar to how batch prediction is done for tabular data in Vertex AI. And this is what I thought that they were using at first, which was using the tabular data. I love how your input data is a CSV object in cloud storage already. Not that we want to use a CSV object or BigQuery, but like that's an option, I guess. We could upload this into BigQuery and then pull it from, down from BigQuery, which is like, I don't know how that works. But this is what I thought was happening, but it's not. If you specified cloud storage as your output destination, the results of your batch prediction requests are returned as CSV objects in a new folder. Now, is this doing what I wanted to do though? Because I don't. Yeah, AutoML classification and regression model. Find out how to build a binary classification model from tabular data using Vertex AI. The entire process takes a couple of hours to complete. Most of that time is not active time. You can close your window and return the task. The goal of the train model is to predict whether a bank client will buy a term deposit, a type of investment, using features like age, income, and profession. This type of model can help banks determine who to focus their marketing resources on. I mean, yeah, this is what we're trying to do in some essence. Okay, so this is interesting because what we've done is we've kind of identified an issue here where it's like, what happens if I just we're gonna test some of these. If I say let's go to Claude, and I ask Claude to say, if you had to classify the title, staff, developer, advocate in one of the following categories. What were our categories here? I'm gonna just steal it directly from this. Oh. Executive, IT manager, architect, or developer. Executive, IT manager, architect, developer. Which would you choose, right? You only output your choice. No explanation is required. Developer. Okay. We want to edit. Director of Tech Awesomeness. IT manager. Okay. Head of Tech Janitorial Services. I don't know. I'm just trying to. Okay, IT man. I'm just trying to throw as many curveballs at it as I can. Chief Python janitor. Developer. Ooh. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Chief financial janitor. Executive. Okay. Fair enough. This is what I was trying to figure out was if I send a bunch of data, is it faster to send bulk data and get bulk data back? I'm guessing we could. I'm guessing that you could. I'm just kind of worried that we're gonna get data that doesn't match. That's my big concern right now, is that if I tell it, you know, parse input over the data, we need to like, if we do the chunking thing, right? If we say we're not doing filtered input, we're saying trying to think about this. If we have, so let's say we have that CSV input, because that's what we're going to be working with. That's what we're going to be testing. Our initialization will be, we take this path and we run self-based data is equal to read input, which is just going to be like read whatever that is, you know, f read input. We're going to just say with open return f dot read lines, right? So that's just a flat list broken down by line. Obviously, that's not going to be how we would work with this directly, but iterate over the input path and return the data all right. Yeah. All right, so base data is self.read input, and then we would want self persona data is going to be self.persona model this is where we put that stuff that we're talking about. So we have our can Pydantic accept wildcard data? That's the thing that I'm looking at now. Hold on, bring this over here. You have to give it a but strict mode would be pretty useless when validating JSON since JSON doesn't have type matching with common types like date, time, UAID, right? Solve this validation setup. Schema based on typed dict. Okay, so they have like field validators, field validator win, wrap. Yeah, because like my thought is more, can I a dictionary of computed fields in this model instance, model construct, model extra, get extra field set during validation? Extra allow. Okay. Because we could just do that. I mean, that would make it... Model config equals config dict extra allow. Like, in my mind, I'm wondering if we have this. Wait, where do I define that? Define extra allow. Oh, just model config. You just add it as like a variable, like. I'm guessing that would be like a Pydantic. Okay. Config dict. Base model, model config, config dict. Do you put it at the top? Do you have to put it at the top? Is that a thing that works? Before 2.0, the config class was used. This is still supported, but Decker. Oh, okay, okay. So they're saying put it here. Dict. Like that. Because that might actually make it a little bit easier to use. Because then we just pass in the persona itself. We just pass it directly into the persona itself. We don't have to do a bunch of things. You just iterate over each line and pass that line's values into the persona. Which would make this simpler. Yeah, because then you could say persona model. Good. Good. Random. That, as much as of a random statement as it is, it's not random at all. Good. All right, so at this point then, when we read input and we return over this, which, let's just do this for now. This would ultimately, for each of these, you're going to return a pydantic thing. So for data in self, we don't even need base data at that point. Just get rid of that completely. This you have some iterable like that. And you have for item in iterable yield persona star star item. Yeah. No, I don't think that's technically accurate, because I think you'd want it. You'd want to manage what those things are. I'm just wondering if that's kind of it. Because my first thought is, in the CSV reader, when you parse that input, you're going to have a row. Yeah, you'll have a dictionary of items. Can the model, can you not pass in those values is what I'm wondering. Like optional. Required optional and nullable fields. Right. Optional, not required, can be none, is none by default. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. That's normal. So now we import typing. All right, so I did that completely wrong. All right, so generated persona. It's gonna be a string, and it defaults to none. Boom, like that. And then this is an optional. And it also outputs to none. It also defaults to none. That way we can pass those in without actually requiring them. What about unions? Yeah. Union, typing union. Okay, that's fine. So this is gonna be, ultimately I think we want that to just be a string. Is there a default factory? is required. Wait, what? I thought they were all required. Sorry, I'm over here reading. Let's go read. Read with me. Factory does not have a check of the field. Does not have a default value or factory. Again, you can't. Functional validators, serializers. I genuinely just want extra types. Oh, I love how they have just extra types. I'm guessing those are, you need to like pip install extras or something. Experimental, pipeline, handlers. All I want is to know, because again, what I'm trying to check for is if I want this to just randomly assign a UUID, like a random UUID, like, you know, like boom. Well, not that. I don't know what that is. That's, it got goofy all of a sudden. Like, if I just wanted to do that, my hope is that it doesn't assign the same UUID every time, but I need to verify that. And actually, we can just test that. Let's start writing some tests. Woo. Pillix, earlier you were telling me that you were getting into like writing tests and stuff, and that you liked writing tests. I don't hate tests. Tests are fine. I wouldn't say I love tests, but I'm definitely like, okay. Okay. Sweet. All right. I don't think I have. Oh, I do? Sweet. All right. I was like, I don't think it's configured, but it might be. Who knows? All right. So import PyTest, and then we want test persona. Sure. Test that the persona model again, this is a bad test. I'm not a fan of this test. It's more just to make sure that I have the things that I need while I'm there, and that I don't break anything. Let's see, from models dot base, what do I call this? Base reader? This is probably just going to be called base models eventually. No, I get that, Pillix. I get the UUID module. What I'm saying is, if I tell it by default, I want you to generate a UUID for me is it going to generate a unique, not a UUID generation is not guaranteed to be unique, but is it going to generate a UUID on the fly, or is it going to save one UUID and use it all the time? Like if I make 15 models, are all the models unique? That's what I'm asking. Models. Oh, it's not models. It's readers. More than likely, we'll just wind up updating it. Base reader import persona. We'll probably that'll get renamed eventually. Models assert persona. What do we want? We want title. Right. Yeah. This is like one of those things that I always mess up in Django as well. Of like, if I just give you date time or whatever, or date time now, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't just do the thing. Oops. Okay, so persona 1, persona 2. Yep. Okay. Is it gonna run? No. We were close. I was like, maybe it'll work, but it doesn't. I was hoping that NeoTest would just work out the box, but it does not. I have to add. I mean, we can just add it. No. Nope. What? Okay, I was about to say, yeah, that should be in there. There it goes. Okay. And now we're just dealing with me being lazy. Level 2, Ivan. Yeah, I only have one in it. I need to add in its too. Google USB messaging, Python metaclass news deprecated, no longer be used in Python 3.14. That's fine. Unable to find your project. Ugh. Why do you even need to find it? Where are we? Oh, that's why. I forgot it. Cause yeah, they did a thing before I could do it. Move Ivan persona classifier vertex test to. There we go. Attempted relative import with no. All right. So now. So this just becomes from models base. With no known parent package. Do we have a pipe? Yeah, we do. Okay, so Toml. Felix, I hope you're watching. I thought it was called Path or something like that. Python Path. are we? Oh, that sucks. Okay. Because I have two of them. Of course I have two of them. Why do I have two of them? Who knows? Well, I know. Because... no... Oh, it's because it's not called models. It's readers. I mean, that's fair. All right, so we've got base reader line 29. Go here. Oh yeah. I love how it's just like reading me to rights of like, hey, you're doing things you shouldn't do. You need to clean this up. Okay, one error. Name optional is not defined. That's because it's typing.optional. Of course. Okay, one failed, one passed. Ah! Aha! This is exactly what I was saying. These are the same. Still the same. You lied to me, Pillix. Now, I have a feeling that this is where the field comes in, and you just do like pedantic dot field, and then there's like a thing in field that you do. I asked you, did the thing do the thing? Default factory. This is what I wanted. That's what I wanted. This is pedantic field, default factory, lambda. Boom. oh, well, it's not going to help me with unexpected indents. That's, no one's expecting that, you know. It got that far. Yeah, you got to make it a pydantic field. That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, how do you get to the default factory thing? So if we do that, now I'm really starting to like think about this of like, this means that as long as we can get our data into this like this, each one is its own persona. We can operate it with it. We can operate with it as a persona. I also am really wondering if we can and or should pass these queries in one by one or in bulk. Because my fear is if you do it one by one, I think you have exact certainty that each one will be read correctly. I think if you pass them in bulk, you likely, maybe, possibly save tokens, but there's a chance that items would get skipped. There's also a level of questioning the accuracy of it. And one of those things is like different things to test, different things to talk about. And again, a part of me is also thinking we should just give it tabular data and feed it in by a BigQuery, or whatever CSV. But then you have to store it into like cloud storage and stuff, and that gets disgusting. Nobody wants to do that. So I kind of get where they're coming from with this, but what were we were looking at something earlier, and it was like, no, not you. No, not you. Is it in here? Okay, so we were talking about save prompts is kind of cool. Uh-huh. Now you probably have it set up as a field because it's common. Like, I knew there was a way to do it. I just didn't know if it was like you just pass it in or not. Come on. Where's the thing? Documentation. Rate limits. So that would be a reason. 200 requests per minute. Concurrent batch requests. So you can do like 4 jobs on 50K records. 150,000 records. So I mean, I'm guessing that'll be fine. Batch text generation. This is like what I'm thinking of. I would rather not use a big query input. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. You do like a request like this, and you tell it to go. Only accept BigQuery storage sources. Boo! Boo hiss, I say. That is so dumb. Uh, but I guess, whatever. Retrieve batch output. Yeah, like this is what I'm trying to do. You do something like this. What? Oh, probability negligible. Okay, I was like, what? Yeah, because this is annoying. Because the challenge is that I don't need to do a bunch of stuff. List a few popular cookie recipes. Audrey name, required recipe name. Okay, hold on. This is a feature. This feature is subject to PJ offering terms. Okay, you can guarantee a model's generated output always adheres to a specific schema, so that you receive consistently formatted responses. For example, you might have an established data schema that you use for other tasks, like, I don't know, Pydantic. If you have a model that following that schema, you can directly extract data from that data's model without any post-processing. To specify the structure of a model's output, you define a response schema, which works like a blueprint for the model responses. When you submit a prompt and include the response schema, the model's response always follows your defined schema. So the thing that we're seeing right now that's an annoyance and a half is rate limits. The rate limits I'm not too worried about hitting. 200 requests per minute will be fine. We're not going to send 200 requests in a single minute. We can always throttle it to, we'll just tell it to bulk sleep. Now, pricing is a question. Okay, per 1,000 characters. (1,000 characters of input prompt and every 1,000 characters of response. So yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried. Like, sorry, I'm a little annoyed. Because text generation is the thing that we need. We don't need multi-turn chat. Control generated output would be nice. Because we get JSON out, which means we could convert that to a dict and then upload that back in. Batch text would be so perfect. Batch text would just be so perfect. But you have to use BigQuery. And that's like, again, not the biggest deal breaker, but it doesn't make things fun. Because I want to take data that may not be in BigQuery and then run it on this. So we can do, maybe we can update our model. Because I get why now. Because like if you look at it from the example of check pricing again. That's per prompt, right? I just want to make sure that's per prompt of input and output. So input and output. How does pricing work with what you call it? Because I definitely do think that we do control generated output. Because if we do control generated output, how does it price on control generated output? It won't tell me. I'm guessing it has to be based on the response. Yeah, because this is what I'm thinking is like you do this immediately and then you just generate the category and then you're done, which is great. That makes life easy. Generative model generate content, prompt, generation config, response type, MIME type, JSON, response schema is that schema, and then you provide the prompt. I mean, it's as simple as if we tell it that it has to be one of these items, then it's just going to give us those items. Item winner apparel to discard. So like that's perfect. Like that's what I want. I want this to say an enum of one of these things. I think that'll also limit the output to just this. It'll reduce the output, and then we can. So then we're dealing with like. My thing is, I don't want it to be like 2,000. I don't want it to be 2,000 characters every request, because if we did 1,000, so that times 2 times 500 is 1 cent, or almost 2 cents. So for every 500, we'd be paying 2 cents for every 500 requests. And then if we did versus 1.5, that's the difference. So what I'm saying is like, is the extra 1 cent per every 1,500 requests worth guaranteed accuracy, or is the accuracy good enough that if we did, 1,500 at a time, could we get all 1,500 in one request? Because that would be the cheapest. That would be the cheapest. And I'm guessing the answer is you probably do a set of these. The thing that I'm looking at here in theirs is they don't have type as an array, and then you have items, right? The item has large questionable stains on it. What item description? The item has large questionable stains on it. Item category is a coat, and it's just one, and you discard it, and that's it. The week ahead brings a bunch. Sunday is this, Monday is this, Tuesday is this. So what is the response? Then you get Sunday. Do you get Monday? So yeah, you get multiple days. So I'm guessing we could bulk it. I'm guessing that we could continue on with the bulk. I'm just really concerned about getting... Oh, wait. Because if you do that, you're going to get back... The output's going to be the same amount either way. So yeah, that's fine. And they just have it on a new line? I bet if you just gave it a new line on each. What is the input limit? Do we have limits? Do we have limits? Do we have limits? Again, what's our limit? What's our input limit? Example, use cases, considerations, JSON. You must use the API to define the response schema. There is no console support. That's fine. I don't care about that. They really don't want to rate. I mean, so you see rate limits. Tokens per minute. So we could see how many tokens it uses. All right. So input tokens per minute. Basically, you can only tell it how many input tokens. 4 million. 4 million's a lot. So I think we just keep it at the 500 and go from there. Okay. So there is no iter inside of the persona itself because the persona is just one thing. I don't think we need... Yeah, maybe we do. Okay, text generation, control generated output. I want to see what the output gives me. Recipe name, required recipe name, type string. Okay, cool. And then you get usage metadata here. So we can see what the usage metadata is. This is what I was trying to figure out. How do we get these ratings? Finish reason was stop. Harm category, dangerous content. I mean, again, I don't know why it's asking me for all that. Response schema is response schema. I'm so confused as to why it's giving me this extra information if all you asked for was text. So it's going to give you that each time. How are they generating the score of... Yeah, how is he generating the score of this? Again, where are you getting persona certainty? It's defined in the model? I'm wondering how much that, how accurate. Again, I'm not questioning the capability of the model. I am questioning the capability of the model. I'm just saying that if you tell it to generate a certainty, do we really know how certain it is? Like, and here's what I mean by that. If where's Claude at? Good old Claude. Same thing. Developer advocate role. Like 6.5 retry. 6. This is what I'm saying. Like right there. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is if I tell it to generate and then also generate the certainty, like sure it's close, but how do we know? Okay, that time it gave me 60% again. And 60% again. Oh, you've reached the limit for Claude. It's like, okay, you're done for now. Oops, I accidentally closed my web browser. again, I'm not here to attack the effectiveness of the model. I'm just saying, like, if there was like a temperature score, if there was like a machine learning model that was like, how close is this thing to this thing? I would almost rather just do that. I would almost rather it just give me, like, let me generate an embedding and generate another embedding and then say, how close is this embedding to this embedding? But like, and that's where the other thing, that's where like that data model thing, sorry, the thing that I was trying to do, or at least the thing that this application does, create another window here. The thing that this application does is, where are we at? Boom. It's asking for you to give the persona certainty, and you're saying persona certainty must be a number from 0 to 1 within 2 decimals. But it's generating that certainty. So I just went into Anthropic and burned through my free queries for the second, you know, as one does regularly. And I got 6.0, but at first I got 75%. Then I got 70%. Then I got 65%. Then I got 60%. And I'm like, what if I tell it to explain your certainty? Oh. I have to wait. I have to wait longer. Oh, I'm out of free messages until 8 p.m. Wow. Okay, so I'm out for the next 4 hours. But that's what I'm saying. Is like, if it's going to generate, if it's just going to tell us like, oh, hey, I think it's 60%. Well, why do you think it's 60%? Right? Give me like, what arbitration are you using to generate that value? I mean, I'm not here to combat the whole like, is AI good or bad or not. I could not do this without AI. Like I could not generate this level of input at this level this easily without a large language model doing this personally. Now, could I have a large data set with a bunch of titles that are evaluated to another set of titles, and then I use that to train a model and then pass that in and get a result? Yes, I could do that if I had that data. I don't have that data. So without that data, a large language model allows me to do this with what I know. The thing that I don't like is when we tell it to do things, and I'm not against it I'm not against it saying what its confidence is. But what I wanted was how does it generate that confidence? And that's where, like, if there was like an accuracy confidence score or something like that, and it was exposed in Vertex, I would be over the moon with that. But until then, nah. I can't unless they tell me flat out, we want that arbitrary number because we trust the arbitrary number, then cool. But I'm not going to insert a value without knowing how that value is calculated. All right. So class input reader based data persona model. Yeah, because what I'm thinking of is with this, we have that, we have that, we have this. We can say, Yeah, we want to do this. We want to do... Oh, I guess we could do this way. We could say... Oh, let's just do that. This is only meant to be read internally. So we want... prospect ID, comma... generated... title. So we could just do that, right? Because now we have our input reader. We can say our input base model, persona model. For here, we're going to say models are equal to yeah, something like that. Oh, I keep saying models. Everything is a model. Ah, no. I did it backwards. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like here, you could do self, persona, title equals okay, we have oh, what are you doing? Oh, it's always going to be, no, it's always going to be there because it gets auto-generated if we don't, right? All right, so we do that. So we have title, we have persona ID. Persona ID is just always auto-generated. And for entry in Something like that, right? Right there. Oh, of course I called it X. Cool. So we got that. Got that initializer in there. Base data persona, data personas. So we have our path. Our path is, we don't know what that path is. I don't think we need that path because we're just reading that data in. So we don't need that. Base data equals read input from input path, right? Input model, we don't need to worry about that. We don't need to worry about that. So those are just passed through. So we say self output path is what? No. Self output path is equal to output path. And then we say self input model is equal to input model. I don't think we need to call it an input model. We just need to call it a model. Model. Okay. Output path we're not worried about. Title we're not worried about. Okay. So we got that. Self-based data, data persona, self-persona is title, entry persona ID for entry and self-persona, parse database data, self-output path equals output path, self-model equals model. Yep. Cool. And like this is like serialization, and this is one of those things where like again I know that there you can create serializers and that whole thing in Pydantic as well. This is the thing that gets me with Pydantic that I both like and don't like is that no. Like serialization, right? Oh, see, that isn't even. Not worry about that. Cool. So now. That's cool. That's how we initialize it. Output path is. Oh, no, that's correct. Filter input. Oh, filter input needs to be passed into parser. We're not going to get the closeness anymore. Or at least we're not getting the score of the closeness anymore. The default is a no op and no data. All right, so we just return true. Parse is for entry in self persona or data personas. We need to chunk these. We don't need, wait, what? Grouper? So yeah, you can do grouper. What was he doing? How was he chunking this? I'll get the goofy look if I immediately go to iter tools. GitHub. Oh, my bad. That moment that you're like, that's kind of funny that someone was like, hey, I'm waiting for this thing. That can be deleted. Yep, cool, that's done. My little change is done. Boom. Dope. My little PR change got thrown in there. That's always fun. Okay, back to what we were talking about. I distracted myself. What was it even? Yeah, so they're doing fur chunk in. That's just chunks for. Wait, what? Okay, that's. I mean, again, yes, I can do the for iron range, rows total, chunk size, or whatever. Of course, you can do that. Of course, you can do that. Now, grouper is what I'm more familiar with. Incomplete fill. Okay, so you can do fill, strict, or ignore. What is ignore? Yeah, more iter tools has a grouper. Chunked is okay. Chunked is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, more iter tools chunked is what we're looking for. Like, why would you need to do anything different? just do chunked. Break into sub iterables within element E. What? What is that even? What? I chunked count 4. Oh, so for each chunk you do something different. All right. More iter tools, import chunked. All right, so now okay. Parse chunk size, right? All right, so you can do this. Do something like that, right? Whoa, 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 wait. Yep, this is not the right thing. We want gen personas self, right? We're gonna do that. Boom. Do we need that? We don't need that. We don't need that. We're already doing the thing. Self persona for persona. Oh, and parse space data. Yeah. Data iterator self, right? Boom, like that. Yeah, the base here would just yield the entry for entry and base data. Yeah, because you can get self-based data. Boom, you get base data. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, as long as it outputs into. Now the question is, do we even need to do this self-persona entry if we do parse-based data? I don't think we need that. I think read input. Yeah, we need the reader. The init path here is the thing that we need is the reader. It's not a persona, it's input reader. Oh, we gotta, this is the input reader. No. Input parser. Something like that. Yeah, because if we do that, then we can say like that. That makes sense. So we don't need this. That doesn't do anything. The parse iterate is, let's see, the parser to the base data. So we don't want to do parse, but we want to do like generate persona label. Now, what I'd like to do with this, because that's gonna, you're gonna need the LLM for this. Models, yep, base model, that's fine. Yeah, we'd need some base model there. Base model is going to have a thing similar to this. Vertex AI is going to just wrap around that. So yeah, generate persona label. For that, we do chunk size, boom, and then we do ooh, you gotta match those though. The question that I have now is, this feels like a database. Feels like at this point it should be a database. Yeah, like look up, and that would be like the second I saw, I figured like I'm gonna need to look up the ID. Mm-hmm. So how do you look up? I mean, again, you could just iterate and do and say for if, but like that's no, this stuff needs to be in a database. So do we squee light it? I should actually be getting out of here too. It's quitting time. So let's take a minute. Let's collect our thoughts. I'm gonna go back into my lucid chart here. Because we're talking about things that are happening, and again, like I love that this is deviating so far from the original idea that they had, while still staying the same. Like the reality is, we have this information. Like, whatever this is, whether it's a CSV file, whether it's something like that, I could see why they want to put it into a data frame, but I think they're better off putting it in a database. Performance reasons being the biggest one. I'm kind of interested in some ways with data set. Because I don't necessarily need, I just need it as like a temporary. I don't want to publish it. I mean, I guess technically you could publish it. Maybe this is more for visualizing the data. Getting started. Yeah, like I more just need the upload, and with that you could just do SQLite. So SQL Alchemy, SQLite, I think you just store it in a database. It also keeps memory low, which makes it easy to be, well, I guess, but the database itself is written in memory. I think could use Redis. So now I went from like, should I use a database to which database should I use? And this is again where the, if you're doing them in order, it doesn't matter, because then you're just iterating through them, generating the request, getting the response, and then applying it. I could also see in a world where you iterate through the chunks, That way you're only doing lookups in the batches that exist. So like, hey, if you do 500, you then have to iterate through 500 objects 500 times. But if you do 10, you have to iterate through 10 objects 10 times, 50 times. And that's probably faster that is absolutely faster. Versus if you store them temporarily in a database, update the database, and then output the data from the database, I feel like that's going to be the fastest way. Now, again, the question becomes, which database? And also, yeah, if I were using SQLite, I would use just the in-memory database. Like we're not preserving any of this data. The argument there is if you wanted to capture this data long-term, I think you would ingest the data and then you would update it in place. I'm pretty convinced that moving it to a database is going to be the answer. I just think that the logic that I have behind it is all right. Let's go back to our diagram here. All right, so you have these objects. These objects are probably, they're just code. They're just random code somewhere. What does our random code look like? Multiple documents, right? So you got multiple documents. Those are all serialized with Pydantic. Those are taken through a process and then passed into all right, sweet. All right, so you got your multiple documents. Who cares how they got there? I think the only time you do care is if they came from a database, because if they came from a database, just edit them in place. Easiest. You just iterate through those lists. You take that data, you put it into Pydantic, you do the serialization of it, you do the thing, you get the results, and then you, for each of the IDs, you just do a lookup against the original database and update the data. The question is, though, for something like a CSV file, right? As a CSV file, we've already talked about two things, two big questions. Question one is one query for each or one query per chunk? And what we figured out was with Vertex, we can do one query per chunk with hope that it'll sustain, and we can use their structured, what was it called? Their structured, don't look at me looking at iterative tools. Okay, I've already responded to that once. I'm loving that they sent me the same information twice again. All right. We've already figured out that one, we can't do the tabular data thing because the tabular data thing has to be done through Google BigQuery, which is kind of annoying. Text data. Where's the API? Where's the API overview? I just need the overview. I need the API overview. Ultimately, we can tell it to output the information in a certain format that's JSON, and we can have it pre-format. So we're gonna get the data back that we want. My question is, if I'm dealing with it's not one query per chunk. Oh yeah, one query per chunk. If we're dealing with one query per chunk and we have 500 items, is it going to be more advantageous to keep that data in memory as just a list of items, iterating over that item? Because if I don't know what the thing is, this is some, like, if we're talking about like your big O notation, that is O plus N being the number of items, it's O plus N times N, right? Because it's got to, for each of the 500 items, you got to go through all up to 500 items every time. And that's non-performant. So even if you do like for however many entries are there. So if there's 500, you do that once. If there's like 50,000, which I don't think there will be 50,000, but I do know that I've been told that this can run up to like 25,000 times, like over 25,000 items or something like that. So like 25,000 by 500, you're always doing them. You're always looking up only the 500 items that are in that batch, but it's going to be that whatever value. That doesn't feel good. A database seems much faster. With a database, even though you're doing the items in chunks, you can just process it against the entire database. Now the question is, with this being a temporary process, like with this not being the final, remember, this is a CSV file. Eventually we got to output all this back into CSV, which I don't think we'd have 50,000 items if it was a CSV file. That just feels excessive. I mean, I've seen worse. So maybe you do. If you do, is there a way to do this request in SQL so that you only submit this request one time? As I've rambled through this, that's kind of my thought. Is there a way that I can do? I've got 500 items in which I need to update each of those items in those spots. Is that a join? Is that just a join? I'm pretty sure that's just a join. I'm almost certain that I just explained what a join is. Because we have the ID, we just do a join on them. I can never remember which join is which, but yeah, perfect. So you got customer ID, and you want to get the order ID for the customer ID. Yeah, select orders.order ID, customer name, order state from orders, inner join customers on orders.customer ID equals customers.customer ID. And you'll get something like that, right? That's what I'm thinking. And then I just output this as whatever my data is. I'm almost certain that's the answer. And then, yeah, you just take that, you output the join, and then you just go. You say, select order, blah, 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 whatever. Select, orders ID. No. All right. Now that I've successfully explained to myself that it's a join, let's get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me. This has been fun. However, I'm going to wrap it up there. It's almost 5. My daughter's got an event tonight that I need to be ready for. So with that, y'all take care.